Hi everyone, welcome back to KG Graves. Back in September 2022 I went to Ebdonroad Cemetery in Westonsupermare, Somerset to visit the grave of Dando, who was sadly shot and killed. She was a very popular TV personality and her career was on the up. More information coming up about Jill shortly, but as usual, if you like the video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell. Thanks for watching.
This is BBC One. Now the 9 o'clock news with Peter Sissons.
Jill Dando, known and loved by millions, has been brutally murdered. The 37-year-old presenter died in hospital after being found shot through the head on her own doorstep. Tonight in West London, a massive police hunt for the well-dressed man seen running away down the street in which she lived. Neighbours who found her dying on her doorstep had heard a scream and seen a well-dressed man hurrying away down the street. The shocking loss of one of Britain's best-known personalities drew many tributes, among them from the Queen and the Prime Minister. Our chief news correspondent, Kate Adey, reports.
It's a quiet, pretty avenue in southwest London, where Jill Dando had lived for several years. Shortly before midday, some of her neighbours were alerted that something was wrong. Two women went towards the front door and saw someone lying on the doorstep. A third neighbour joined them.
I heard the scream.
You heard a scream?
I did hear a scream.
Did you hear a man's voice or anything like that?
No man's voice at all.
And did you hear a shot or did you...
There was no shots. That's what I would say was a shot. I wouldn't have thought there was a shot, no.
She was conscious? She was talking?
She wasn't conscious when I saw her.
Taken by ambulance to Charing Cross Hospital, she remained unconscious, having suffered serious head injuries.
Jill Dando arrived here by ambulance at 12:30 p.m. Despite all efforts by hospital paramedics, ambulance paramedics and hospital medical staff, she was certified dead at 1:03 p.m.
Jill Wendy Dando was born on the 9th of November 1961 in Westonsupermare, Somerset, to parents Jack and Winifred. She was an English journalist, television presenter and newsreader. Her only sibling, her brother Nigel, was born in 1952. When she was 3 years old, it was discovered that she had a hole in her heart and a blocked pulmonary artery. She had heart surgery on the 12th of January 1965. Jill completed her education at the Broadoak Sixth Form Centre, where she was head girl and completed her A-levels. She then went on to study journalism at the South Glamorgan Institute of Higher Education, now known as Cardiff Metropolitan University. She was also a member of the Westonsupermare Amateur Dramatic Society and Exeter Little Theatre Company, with whom she appeared in plays at the Barnfield Theatre. She was also a volunteer at Sunshine Hospital Radio in Westonsupermare in 1979. Jill's first job was as a trainee reporter for the local weekly newspaper, the Western Mercury, where her father and brother also worked. After 5 years as a print journalist, she started to work for the BBC, becoming a newsreader for BBC Radio Devon in 1985. That year she transferred to BBC South West, where she presented a regional news magazine programme, Spotlight South West. In 1987 she worked for Television South West, then BBC Spotlight in Plymouth. In early 1988 Jill moved from regional to national television in London to present BBC Television News, specifically the short on-the-hour bulletins that aired on both BBC One and BBC Two from 1986 until the mid-1990s. Jill presented the BBC television programmes Breakfast Time, Breakfast News, the BBC 1 o'clock news, 6 o'clock news, the travel programme Holiday, the crime appeal series Crime Watch from 1995 until her death, and occasionally Songs of Praise. In 1994 she moved to Fulham. On the 25th of April 1999 she presented the first episode of Antiques Inspectors. She was scheduled to present the 6 o'clock news on the evening of the following day, the day she died. She was featured on the cover of that week's Radio Times magazine. Jill was also booked to host the British Academy Television Awards 1999 alongside Michael Parkinson at Grosvenor House Hotel on the 9th of May. On the 5th of September, the BBC resumed the airing of Antiques Inspectors, the final series to be recorded by Jill. The series had made its debut on the 25th of April, with filming of the final episode completed 2 days before that. The programme was cancelled following her death, but it was decided later in the year that it would be aired as a tribute to Jill. The final episode aired on the 24th of October. At the time of her death, Jill was among those with the highest profile on the BBC's on-screen staff and had been the 1997 BBC Personality of the Year. Crime Watch reconstructed her murder to aid the police in search for her killer. After Barry George was charged with the murder but acquitted, Crime Watch made no further appeals for information concerning the case. In her personal life, Jill was in a relationship with BBC executive Bob Wheaton from 1989 to 1996, and then a brief relationship with National Park Warden Simon Basil. In December 1997 she met gynecologist Alan Farthing on a blind date set up by a mutual friend. Farthing was separated from his wife at the time. A couple of months after Farthing's divorce was finalised, the couple announced they were engaged on the 31st of January 1999. Their wedding was set to take place on the 25th of September. On the morning of the 26th of April 1999, 37-year-old Jill left Farthing's home in Chiswick. She returned alone by car to the house she owned at 29 Gowan Avenue, Fulham. She had lived in the house, but by April 1999 was in the process of selling it and did not visit it very often. The purpose of her visit was to collect contract documents, which had been faxed to her there by her agent John Roseman. As she reached her front door at 11:32, she was shot once in the head. Her body was discovered about 14 minutes later by her neighbour, Helen Dobble. Police were called at 11:47 and Jill was taken to Charing Cross Hospital, where she was declared dead on arrival at 13:03. Another neighbour, Richard Hughes, heard a scream but said, "I thought it was somebody surprising somebody," but heard no gunshot. He looked out of his front window and, while not realising what had happened, made the only certain sighting of the killer, a 6-foot-tall white man aged around 40, walking away from her house. After the murder, there was intense media coverage. An investigation by the Metropolitan Police, named Operation Oxborough, proved fruitless for over a year. Within 6 months, the murder investigation team had spoken to more than 2,500 people and taken more than 1,000 statements. With little progress after a year, the police concentrated their attention on Barry George, who lived about half a mile away from Jill's house. He had a history of stalking women, sexual offences, and other antisocial and attention-seeking behaviour. George was put under surveillance, arrested on the 25th of May 2000, and charged with her murder on the 28th of May. George was tried at the Old Bailey, convicted, and on the 2nd of July 2001 was sentenced to life imprisonment. Concern about this conviction was widespread on the basis that the case against George appeared thin. 2 appeals were unsuccessful, but after discredited forensic evidence was excluded from the prosecution's case, George's 3rd appeal succeeded in November 2007. The original conviction was quashed, and a second trial lasting 8 weeks ended in George's acquittal on the 1st of August 2008. After George's acquittal, some newspapers published articles which appeared to suggest that he was guilty of Jill's murder and other offences against women. In December 2009, George accepted substantial damages from News Group newspapers over articles in The Sun and the News of the World, following a libel action in the High Court. Other lines of inquiry and theories included a jealous boyfriend, a hired assassin, a Bosnian, Serb or Yugoslavian group, a deranged fan, or even mistaken identity, among others. Cold case reviews by the police after 2008 concluded that Jill was killed by a professional assassin in a hard contact execution. Jill's funeral took place on the 21st of May 1999 at Clarence Park Baptist Church in Weston-super-Mare. She was buried next to her mother in the town's Ebdonroad cemetery. Her father inherited all her estate, valued at £607,000 after debts and taxes, because she died intestate. Her father died on the 11th of February 2009 at the age of 91 and was buried in the same cemetery. The life, death and subsequent police investigation of Jill Dando was the subject of a true crime Netflix miniseries titled Who Killed Jill Dando, released in 2023 and running for a total of 3 44-minute long episodes. Jill was a lovely, warm and talented woman and did not deserve to be killed in this way. The fear she must have felt in those few seconds before being shot do not bear thinking about, and sadly, I don't believe the killer will ever be identified. Let's see where her grave is located. So there you have it, the grave of Jill Dando, journalist, television presenter and newsreader. The sad case of a beautiful woman being killed. As usual, if you like the video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell for more content like this. Thanks for watching, see you on the next one.